podcast, the show where we talk about topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who has
I
had
just
a
got punched in the face. That's what I
Hey,
felt.
yeah, look out. Joining me today is somebody who's had a wealth of experience in the industry. She's been doing this for 30 years, serving her community in Idaho, and really said something to me the other day that stood out, which is, as long as you've been in this business, you're always starting over. And I thought that was such a wise thing to say. But I'm really looking forward to unpacking all of that today. Deborah Criddle, welcome to the Lowdown.
Hello. Welcome to
Oh,
me.
well, thanks for joining me today, Deborah. It's really great to have you on. I've enjoyed our interactions up to this point, so I know it'll be a good episode. Like I said in the intro, you've been doing this now for over 30 years, have built a reputation as the mortgage queen. When did you realize for you that mortgage wasn't just a job, but really just a career that you were meant to be in?
What's so crazy is when I started, I was 14 and a half. So I was really, really young. I had no clue what a credit report was. I mean, I knew nothing. I mean, I had cash in my wallet from 20 bucks my dad gave me. So it's not even like I knew how to balance a checkbook or anything like that back in that day. But my job was to copy papers and still didn't care. Whatever. I'm copying papers. I'm making money. It's fantastic. I can do this after school. And then pretty soon I thought, there's something to this. So I started watching as those copies went through the copy machine, trying to read what the documents were and trying to figure out what they were. And pretty soon I started asking questions. And this will blow your mind. But I was probably 15 and a half, 16 when I realized this is where I belong. Because you just feel that love of saving people from financial stupidness, on top of seeing them buy their first home, on top of, we were in the subprime days. So we were doing the hard loans, that one day out of bankruptcy stuff, the people who had almost lost everything. And so there was a lot of reward with that back in the late 90s.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, how have things evolved for you over time? Like I said in the introduction, again, like you said something that really hit me hard when we were talking the other day about how, even though you've been doing this for as long as you have, there's almost a sense of starting over all the time with consumer behavior and the different things that you have to pay attention to. What have you seen? Like, what have been some of the biggest changes?
Well, let's go back to the very beginning. When I first started, we had literal handwritten 1003s. The underwriting guideline says I had to give you the actual wet signed, wet filled out, blue ink loan application. So, how did I take that loan application? That human was sitting across my desk and we were hand filling out all of that information. There wasn't a fax machine. I remember when we got our fax machine, that was the coolest thing ever. And so, anyways, so yeah, we were handwriting those things and overnighting those documents and all those packages, to pretty soon we had a fax machine and they allowed us to fax those documents. And we still had ink, but it was handwritten. And then we were able to type all of this stuff pretty soon, but they still required a live signature. And then I can't remember all the years, but then pretty soon and our underwriting stuff was, you paid your rent on time, you got a point. You have no insufficient funds on your bank account, you get a point. And if you had enough points, you qualified for the loan. And the credit scores obviously were still there, but you also had this alternative mindset of how you could qualify somebody. And then we got into, which is funny because we're in the AI era now. We've had AI, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac rolled out DU and LP.
Mm-hmm.
If you really look at the algorithm behind a loan application becoming approved on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac conventional loan, that's AI. There's a little bot back there looking at credit, looking at income, looking at debt ratios, looking at all that and saying, yeah, we like it. No, we don't. And that, I mean, when did that come out? Early 2000s? I honestly don't even know when that came out. So you look at from handwriting a loan application face to face with somebody to, I never even see my people. Some people I don't even talk to on the phone. We live in an era of everything's electronically done online and then electronically uploaded and then texting. Nobody wants to talk to you. And I try to call people and they send me a text message. so so at that point you think, I'm going from how do you communicate with your grandma to how you communicate with a 20-year-old right now. And that's the generation of change that's gone on. And I've been a part of all of that. So how do you market to that? Well, you have to shift. You
Yeah.
constantly have to learn what's changing and who you're talking to.
So how do you stay like in touch with the trends, or are you following anybody in particular? Do you have coaching for that, or how are you staying in in up to date?
This is terrible. This is terrible, Connor. I don't. I don't really follow people, and that's a whole nother podcast that I probably need a counselor for, but it's more of just this is what's important to me, and it's important for me to stay up to date on guidelines. It's important for me to 100% know my job perfectly. Well, alongside that comes with all the marketing side of it. So what do my clients need? And I can't hide from social media. There's so many people that are like, I'm never going to be on social media. Okay, that's fine if you're in certain fields, but in certain fields, you don't have choice. You have to be on social media. And then with that, as you're doom scrolling, you're coming up with ideas of things that like, okay, that would be, I like that background. I can turn that into a mortgage ad. And so, yeah, you're getting ideas from kind of other people. I like to say I'm pretty creative and I'm not scared to do dumb things. And I think there's a lot of it's the dumbest thing in the world, but the dumber you are, the more likes you get and the more views and kind of cockamamie world is this, but we're here, right? We're here.
I mean, when you can get over the fear of embarrassing yourself, like the whole world just changes for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's no big deal. Just be stupid, whatever.
Yeah. I don't get embarrassed very easily. I don't get offended easily. And so I'm usually the opposite. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that was kind of offensive. I guess we shouldn't have said that, but oh well, that's on them, not me. Move along.
Yeah. So you've helped a lot of families, right? And you've, gotten a lot of people into the dream of home ownership and things like that. But is there one story that's really stayed with you, something that really reminds you of what you love about what you do?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I have two. They're short, so I'll make them short. So, the one that always sticks out to me, we were in one of our office spaces and I had a huge window. I faced the window because I'm just a light person. I love light in my eyes. And so, the gentleman that came, him and his wife, they just came into my office and they just seemed so distraught and so sad. And obviously, we get all sorts of walks of life. Sometimes it's their personalities, they're just sad people. And so, you don't really try to read into it. But um, he was like, I'm never going to become a homeowner. Somebody sent me over to you and said, if she can't figure it out, then yeah, you're just going to have to rent. So I'm bracing myself for, 500 credit scores and late payments all over. And I pull credit and their scores were like in the mid 700s. And they had one collection account and it was a medical collection. I was like, what am I missing? And I got like a fine tooth comb out. I was like, there's something on this credit I'm missing. Nothing. There was nothing there. So I have no idea who told him he couldn't get a loan. I mean, he's a slam dunk FHA, slam dunk. Okay, fine. But that was before medical collections were out of the algorithm. Um, Told him it was approved, gave him his numbers, everything was good. And he walks out and he's walking with his little wife and he did a heel click right in front of my big window because he was so excited. I will never forget it because it was like so simple, but he was so excited that was super, super cool. So to come in contact with people, to have them realize this is an option. Like don't get discouraged if you get told no the first time or the second time or the third time. Just keep trying. Maybe it's a timing thing. That's huge. But then real quick on the other one, I had a gentleman walk in my office and I think he lived in his car. He smelled like he lived in his car. He looked like he lived in his car. And I was like, sure, I'll help you. Sit down right here. And I was trying really hard to not let my face show what my emotions were because I'm like, great, yeah, I'll help you. And as he got talking, he's pretty educated. And then I got his application and he just wanted to buy this house and he had some money that he didn't really want to pay cash for the house, but he could. And as I'm gathering this, the dude had like mid to low 800 credit scores, owned like 12 properties outright, had like 2 or 3 million dollars in his bank account. Like, why are you doing a mortgage loan? To this day, I really think his goal was to go around town and see if somebody would be kind enough to help him in the way he looked. And that was probably one of the biggest life lessons I learned is you can't judge people by how they walk into an office. So those two things stick with me. Give
Yeah.
people the dream of home ownership and don't judge them. Just help them.
Yeah. So you've mentioned before that, I mean, a big part of the job as a loan officer is overcoming bad advice that people have received, right? Whether it's at Thanksgiving from other family members or,
Yeah.
just what they've read in the news or in the headlines or what they've seen on TikTok or what have you. How often are you having to level set expectations and sort of unwind some bad advice that someone's received?
Daily, and it comes down to the proper utilization of credit cards. Great grandpa's brother Joe told them to max out their credit card and show proof that they've been making their payments on time. I'm like, no, 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 no. You can max out your card, that's fine, but pay it off in 24 hours. Like, don't let that hit your credit. That's the biggest thing I constantly move people on. And then the next one down the line is going to be, well, that collection account's just going to fall off in 10 years. Yeah, it can, but they can also renew it every year too. So be cautious about that being your escape plan because that's not always going to be the case.
Yeah. Okay. And so the other side of this is, you've got your clients and then you've got your referral partners and the people that you do business with, real estate agents, financial planners, attorneys. Everybody's kind of got a different collection of what that looks like. What are some of the things that you do to make sure that they keep coming back to you and that you're their loan officer of choice for the future?
You have to do the job. You have to do the work. If it's at 9 o'clock at night, if it's at 10 o'clock on a Saturday, I try really hard to hide from my phone on Sundays, but I'm always very aware that there are a few people here and there that the reality is they've got to do certain things on Sunday. And so I try to shave off a couple hours if needed. But you just have to do what you say you're going to do. My plate's pretty full, and I know I drop the ball in a lot of places. I know I do, but be willing to work all the extra hours to be able to make sure that you're accommodating what they need. I think the thing that everybody fails to understand in the lending side is realtors have no flipping clue what's going on the financing side. They're just at the mercy of trusting that they're going to get the phone call that the closing date's going to happen on time. And so there has to be a level of fear that those realtors live in, just wondering if the lender calls me, is the deal dead? If the lender calls me, is there an appraisal issue? Did my borrower quit their job? So communication with the realtor is key. They've got to know the good and the bad, and as much information as we can tell them legally. You just have to communicate. You have to tell them what's going on because they don't know. They're not sitting in your shoes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's sort of a blessing in perspective there, right? And I think when we do one job for so long, we forget what the other people's experience is really like, what it's like to be on the other end of doing that job, right? To be on the receiving end of it. And so it's really nice to sort of have that perspective of, yeah, you don't know what's happening over here, but I'm going to take care of it.
Yeah.
We're going to take that off your plate. So I know you've also gained a reputation of kind of being someone who does the hard loans and that can get those done. How did you sort of get that reputation? Did you come by that intentionally, or was that sort of by accident? And are you the go-to person now in your market for the things that other lenders would just walk away from?
Yeah, I would feel like I'm pretty top of line on that type of like the top of the list of people to get that done. It really comes down to when we first started, we were in that subprime industry and we only did the crap loans. We didn't have FHA and we didn't do, I mean, we did some A paper stuff, but it was when we started our mortgage company, the mortgage company I started with, which is basically the same one I'm still with, the banks were the only ones doing mortgage loans. And so the option to open a mortgage company was programs that the banks didn't offer. So we didn't get into the A paper stuff. And so we kind of just started out my career. That's all I knew. And I remember when we added FHA loans, I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? Like a 30-year fixed and no prepayment penalties and all this stuff. It was just really weird to me. But what it taught me is you have to think outside the box because when we were in the subprime industry, you had to sell those loans to the underwriter, why they should let that crummy borrower have 100% financing. I lost you. Are you still there?
So you've been doing this now for a good amount of time.
Connor, can you hear me? There's a really big lag.
Yes, I can hear you. Are you still here?
I'm here. Yeah.
Hello? Okay. Sorry, it is very windy in Texas today, and I think that's
Oh,
causing
okay.
maybe some connectivity problems. That's all right. We'll edit it out.
Okay. Still,
So,
still.
looks like I got a good connection. Now, you've mentioned that, just being successful in this career doesn't come without sacrifice, and that there really is no real work life balance on the way up. You've grown to have a successful career. What does that look like for you in terms of sacrifices along the way? And what advice would you give someone who's trying to grow their business now on what they should expect, or maybe how they can make better, different choices?
I think I lived a little bit in fear of if I was at my son's basketball game or wrestling tournament and I missed that lone phone call, I wasn't going to get that deal or the one down the line. There's probably some truth behind that. But when you really look, if I looked back, there was a lot of wasted time on family vacations and things that I should have been more present and lived more in the, if they are referral partners for me, they'll be patient that I'm having some family time and try to integrate with those that saw my value, but also allowed me some me time too, family time. So lining yourself up with realtors that are 60 years old, retired, and you as a loan officer are 25 years old with a little family, are you going to mesh? Maybe you will, personality wise, but lifestyle is different. The 60-year-old woman who's got no children at home and not really any obligations to a family that are as pressing as a 25-year-old with a little family, just lining yourself up with like people that family people are helping you on both sides or lack of family. It's just try to remember what really matters is that time with your family and your friends and take care of your own personal health. It's mortgage industry is brutal on your health, brutal on your heart and your soul, and you have to find some me time.
Yeah. Well said. And I love the point you make about aligning with partners that are in the same kind of stage of life. And so that there's an understanding there. I know just in conversations I've had, there's a loan officer in Texas that decided to make that decision. And they've got a young family. And they said, I'm only going to work with agents that are okay with me bringing my kids to the open house or that will do events with me at the public park. And wouldn't you know, the next year they had the best year of their career. And so there was a fear of, firing agents, but at the same time, that decision is what triggered the best growth they ever had. So I'm curious. I mean, I would imagine you've fired an agent here or there. I mean, what's the best way to kind of manage that?
Oh my gosh, I don't know that I've ever fired an agent.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I
Well,
ever
I take
have.
that back.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I thought about that. I thought about that when you attend various things and people are like, just fire the agents you don't want. I'm like, why? Why? I mean, but I'm sure there's some toxic agents out there, but I don't take things personal. So there could be a situation where I had a terrible realtor mistreating me bad and it's like, well, they must be having a bad day. Go have a Coke, dude. I don't know how to help you with your problems, but let's get your deal closed. Like I don't know. It's a mindset thing that I just have never really, I don't know. I've been blessed to not have to, I guess. And maybe the bad ones are scared of me. I don't know. Just kidding. Just kidding.
But
Just
I mean,
kidding.
you make a good point. Like the mindset does matter, and I think it's always important to remember that in the world of mortgage, primarily you're dealing with commission only people, and so decisions get made and priorities are set kind of based off of how things are going to turn out to put food on the table, right? And
Yep. Yep.
so it's usually not personal unless someone makes it personal. And, if people aren't making it personal, it's not you, it's them. They've got something else going on. There's always something that might be taking a priority here or there. And so I think when you have that mindset of, all right, let them be who they are and we'll work around that. I think it's really smart and probably helps you stay sane along the
Yeah.
way.
I did have a real estate agent. I guess you could classify this in the firing. I did have a real estate agent that was on the seller side once that we had some really terrible things pop up. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. borrower lost their job, something happened with their gift they were going to get, so we had to figure out down payment assistance, and then stuff happened on the appraisal, and it just felt like every time we turned around there was just a problem. But I kept everybody in the loop of what was going on. When we got to the closing table, I mean, that real estate agent just ripped me upside down the other all of the time, and I'm like, oh great, yep, I'll talk to you, yep, I'll talk to you. And she made some really snide remark to me at the closing table, and I popped off with something back about, I hope one day you never need me, because I hope our paths never cross again, is basically how I told her that. There was a time down the line that she had a deal and I was the only one that could get it done, and I told her no, I won't do it. And she sicked the borrower on me, and the borrower called, and I said, I won't do this with your realtor. And that realtor actually called and apologized to me for mistreating me so bad. And I ended up closing the deal. I really had no intention of doing it. I was not going to get screamed at for 30 days again, especially because she felt like she was in control. But like, be kind. Like, I'll bail everybody out of anything. Just be kind to me. That's all you need to do. So,
Yeah. Well, I think those boundaries are important, right? You've got to let people know what your expectations are and what they can and can't do and what's important. So, setting those boundaries that's healthy for any relationship. So, Deb, what's next for you? I mean, as you sort of look into the future of this business and the ever-changing, evolving landscape that it is, what are you working on now to kind of stay as successful as you've been, and what are you kind of hoping to do next?
well, a week ago, I was looking at trying to hang up my hat a little bit and turning over some of my workload over to my staff, and I was quickly talked out of that. So, I will be hiring myself. Actually, I'm not really hiring. We're going to shift some people around in our office and create just a little bit different file flow process so I can pull some stuff off my plate and try to step back just a little. Maybe go on a vacation without a computer. That would be cool. Just once to go on a vacation without a computer, but I'm business as usual. I mean, I'm gonna delegate a little bit more, which downloaded Dave Ramsey's book on delegation, so I've got to study that with a highlighter because that's the hardest thing for me to do.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just gonna stay in the grind and do what I can to help people, because 30 years of experience isn't very easy to come by to find out there. And so for me to be in that role, I can't step out quite yet. Too young, so I'll stay and keep trucking through.
Yeah. Well, I would also recommend Who Not How as a book to check out as well, on just like hiring the right people or delegating the task to the right individuals so that you can have you do what's the highest and best use of your time, and they do what you don't like to do but they love to do, right? And that way everybody's doing the things that they enjoy doing and everyone's bringing their best self to what they do. And I think that really establishes a culture in a branch and gives a really elevated experience to everyone involved in the transaction. So, from a skill set level, are you working on anything else skill wise, or just focused on kind of the delegation and changing things around in the branch?
I actually just lined up with one of our other branch managers that's going to finally, after many years of me trying to get CE classes, actual legit CE credited classes to teach the Fannie Mae, the FHA 203K renovation program. That's my baby. I love that FHA 203K program, and he's going to help me get an actual course that I can get some realtors educated in, and they can get some credit for it. So that's
That's awesome.
where I'm headed
So,
next.
why is that loan your baby? Like, what is it about that you connect with?
A long time ago, like a long, long, long time ago, I had a gal who needed to do that loan program. I didn't even know it existed. It was probably 20 years ago. And she called me, and she said, I really want to do this loan. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. She's like, well, nobody will do it. Nobody will do it. I said, well, we're FHA approved. Let's do it. I said, if you'll be patient with me because you are my test dummy, let's do it. And so we got the bare minimum stuff. My conditional approval that came out was 3 pages of conditions, little teeny tiny font, and it was a lot of work. But then, man, we got that thing done. I mean, the first one I did, we added on a garage with a living suite and a master, or a bedroom out back. It wasn't a little one. It was
Right.
go big or go home. So, anyways, fell in love with it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, I really appreciate what you've brought to the episode here today and just all the insights and perspective. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the audience with as just a final piece of advice?
Final piece of advice. Well, I guess from a loan officer standpoint, if you're brand new, the sky's the limit with the amount of money that you can make, because this is probably the one industry that the harder you work, the more money you can make. And be prepared to cry, and be okay to cry, and be okay to admit you're wrong. And then don't be afraid to fight an underwriter and win.
Love it. There you go. Well, Deborah, again, thank you for joining the lowdown. It was great having you on, and wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. Thank you.